All right, it's another beautiful day to talk football. So much going down as far as the exciting world of football is concerned. And it promises to be exciting on Locker Room and Voice of the People TV this lovely afternoon. As I'm your host, Jerry Alpelioha, reporting for football duties. It's a full house. Igich Group gets to join us once again. And so many things we're going to unbundle on the show this lovely afternoon, talking about the champions of the NPFL. We'll also be looking at the Flying Eagles of Nigeria. They're currently at the AFCON Under-20 in Egypt. Of course, some would say it looks like they're already in the World Cup as far as qualifying for it is concerned at the Under-20 level. That's and lots more we'll be talking about on the show this lovely afternoon. It's great to have you join us once again on Locker Room.
Good evening, Jerry. Good evening to our viewers. I mean, it's a very lovely weekend we had, lovely weekend of football. And of course, knowing that the Flying Eagles have already qualified to the World Cup, it's another very interesting day. And it says a lot about, everything we've been talking about this particular team. And of course, the fact that we can now start looking at these guys as potential Super Eagles players in the future. I mean, Jerry, it's a great day to be here.
All right, of course, we'll also be having Maiwa joining us virtually. Definitely will be settling a lot of scores on the show this lovely afternoon. He was trying to throw some soccer points on the group over the weekend, but definitely we'll sort that out when the show gets to that point. All right, congratulations are in order to Rebel Stars, who has been crowned the champions of the NPFL. It was Coronation Sunday for Rebel Stars, as they were officially crowned NPFL champions for the first time in their history, while Abia Warriors also made history by finishing third to qualify to represent Nigeria in next year's CAF Confederation Cup. Rebel Stars, who have long won the championship, got their crown today, of course, on Sunday yesterday in front of their fans in Ikene, and that was after the smashed past Ikorodu City 4-1 to celebrate their coronation in super style. They now have 71 points, 10 points clear of second place Rivers United. It was also party time for Abia Warriors after they beat El Kami Warriors 2-1 at home to record an unassailable 60 points with only a round of matches to the end of the season. For me, I didn't see this coming for Abia Warriors. I thought they were just going to be one of those teams that participate in terms of where they will finish at the end of the season. I think they're quite a big surprise for me. At the point, I wasn't worried about the plans of Abia Warriors. But finishing third, I think that was above all the expectations this season. But let's first of all talk about Remo Stars. Congratulations to Remo. But Ikorodu City losing 4-1. Anyway, I don't want to ask a lot of questions, but it is what it is. They won at home, and it was a good coronation day for the champions of the NPFL.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jerry, I mean, the Southwest, not just the Remo Stars. Southwest waited 25 years to actually see a league title again after Julius Berger in the year 2000. So it tells you a lot about this particular trophy, what it means to them. And of course, for Remo Stars, I think this is just going to be the beginning, because I think this is beyond just winning a title for them. It's actually the definition of the project they have in store. And of course, we can officially now say the project has kicked off. We'll perhaps start seeing a heavyweight team in the Southwest again. A couple of years, want to see them win the league again, perhaps next year again to defend their crown, or even year after that, because that's exactly what will show that they are real champions of the NPFL. They have to start showing, they are now in that particular order. We can say, okay, they are in the class of the Imbas, the Canopilas, who we see as traditional, champions in the Nigerian Professional Football League. It's a good one. I also want to see other Southwestern teams also step into the plate to also actually start, contesting for the title. I think it's the very first time we're seeing this, two Southwest side in the top 6, talking about Ikorodu City as well. So it says a lot about this particular team. And congratulations once again to them. I just hope they can actually keep this crop of players. And now let's see what they can actually do in the continent. That is definitely going to be the litmus test for them, because of course winning the Nigerian League is a very difficult thing. But then, of course, stepping it, a notch higher in the continent is something they will want to see, because at that level, we start seeing club sides from South Africa and, of course, Northern Africa, where a good crop of their national team players play in their league, and then that's exactly where the big test starts coming. So perhaps how they actually turn out, in the continent will now prove, the quality they really have, because at that point you're playing against, top teams in Africa. I mean, we cannot overemphasize, how beautiful it is for us to also see a new team emerge as champions in the Nigerian Professional Football League. It's a big one for them, and congratulations once again.
All right, some would see this team and say they're champions today, but don't know that they've gone through a lot to get to this position. They've been knocking on the door since the 2022 season, where they finished third. They came back to 2023, they came second, and at a point, who were going to dub them the Arsenal of the NPFL. They came second again last season, and this season they made it first. But of course, they've removed themselves from the tag of the Arsenals. We're talking about the bridesmaid of the NPFL. They are now the official bride, which everybody loves to associate with.
Well, this particular project, like you rightly said, they've been knocking on the door of becoming champion. Arsenal, this is their third year running. If it ends like this, they'll be third time runners up in the league consecutively. I don't think
it's done. I say if they've already signed it and
no, perhaps they might still. It's very possible. I mean, the last two games, if they just decide to just go into those games with without morals, of course, they can actually just drop. But then, if it stays this way, they are definitely going to be third time in a run. So yes, exactly what these guys actually went through, and of course, it says a lot about the project. And let's look at Arsenal again. Since you talked about Arsenal, Edu Gaspar, when he stepped in, from when he stepped in till when he left, that's exactly how Arsenal have been moving. They grew stronger. Perhaps if they continue in that particular order, they definitely might win the EPL someday, perhaps maybe next season. And what we're having with Remo Stars, about 4 years, last season was very agonizing. And a lot of persons were hoping they were going to win the league. 5 points at some point against Enugu Rangers before Fidelis Ilechukwu side actually turned the task, and of course, emerged champions in the league. This season, I mean, it's no surprise, right, for those who have been following the league, and as to why we now have Felix Ilechukwu and of course the man of the moment, talking about Benga Ogumodede, who is actually the coach of Remo Stars. The both of them are now the chief coach of the Channel. It tells you the quality that they both have. They've won the league. They know what it means to win. And of course, I mean, there's one thing for you to be champion, right?
It's everybody, a beautiful trophy, you must say.
Yes, of course. Trophy. One thing for you to be champions, everybody wants to beat you at this point, and that's exactly where the beauty of you being a champion will be tested. Of course, that's the governor of the state. I mean, this sort of
governor of Ogun State.
Yes, because this things doesn't happen all the time. So this moment brings out the best of the states. Bring them together, because of course, when you get to celebrate championship like this, it tells you, yes, we've really got something in this particular state. Now, Remo Stars is going to be attractive. A lot of top players in the league want to go there because they are champions. I mean, it's so beautiful. It's their moment. Let them enjoy it. I mean, that's the manager of the moment, talking about Benga Ogumodede. So, I mean, I'm just so happy for them. I'm also looking forward to see huge competition coming from other Southwestern. I mean, it's also another point out for people who are actually looking at investing in the league, because this man, Osoname, who is actually the brain behind this huge Remo Stars project, has also shown a lot of persons that you can really invest and of course turn the tide and win the league. It reminds me of the man who was actually behind Enyimba at the point, talking about Felix Anyasiagu, who actually took Enyimba to glory. Of course, conquered Africa on two consecutive occasions. Let's see, perhaps maybe this is just another Felix Anyasiagu in the making.
All right, let's see how this pans out. As far as the NPFL title is concerned, the Remo Stars are now champions of the league, and they were representing Nigeria in the CAF Champions League. And of course, if you take a look at the table closely, we'll see Rivers United occupying the second position. There's also RB Warriors and Ikorodu City taking the fourth position. That means they are prime, I don't know, for the Confederations Cup. That is, they may get to play the playoffs, as the case is. And there's also Bendel Insurance, my darling Bendel Insurance. They really, truly tried. I didn't even give them a chance of making the top 5 this season. though they still surpassed all expectations and making it to the top 5. And there's also Yimba, in spite of all they spent this season investing in the club side, with Kanu Nwankwo coming to join the management of the club side, still yet they were not able to make the top 3 and as well win the title. There's also Kanu Pillars, for all they said about Brownie there and talking about the captain of the Super Eagles, Ahmed Musa. They still finished on the 7th position, which is far a poor performance for the Kanu Pillars side, who has also spent money in recruiting a lot of players. Then the club side that has been disappointing a lot of Southwesterners, Sunshine Stars, eventually relegated. What a surprise for me, the Akure Gunners. What is it about everything Gunners? It is what it is. But trying to say hotel. But El Kanemi Warriors escaping the relegation zone, but it's still not Uhuru. Anything can still happen because it's just a point that separates them from Heartland. And Aqua United just 2 points above Heartland. So between Aqua United, Heartland, and El Kanemi Warriors is still not yet Uhuru. Even Castle United will need to watch their backs in terms of the remaining games of the season. Even Boys United, the club side who owes their players, behind a lot of not too good stories of the fact that they owe their players and they are not well taken care of. But it is what it is. But you can say maybe safe for Kwara United and Shooting Stars and Plateau United. So the points difference is just too interesting as far as the MPFL is concerned. The difference is not that much apart from those in the top 2, even top 3. Apart from those in the top 3, even Ikorodu City tomorrow can still wake up and still do anybody dirty. But it's already done and dusted for Abiores somehow. So yeah.
Well, I mean, Jerry, looking at the table, right, a lot of surprising positions is there. I mean, starting from, what we have, the Enyimba. Of course, for the Enyimba case, right, I mean, during the course of the season, remember they actually sacked their manager, Yemi, and of course brought in the very experienced Stanley Eguma. Perhaps that's the reason why they actually where they are. They have a very turbulent season, so I can actually cut them on slack. But the problem with that is the fact that, I mean, when Enyimba was going for Coach Yemi, I was like asking questions because, I mean, a top team, a proper top team across Europe will always stick to top managers. Now, when you go bring a manager who is largely inexperienced, who has not won the league before, who has not been tested in the league before, it definitely is going to rub off on the team. And that's exactly what Enyimba suffered. We saw how, abysmal or how sad their season was in the continent. And, of course, how they got knocked out and all of that. And then, of course, talking about, the defending champion, Enugu Rangers, languishing in the 8th position, it's also very surprising. I mean, I don't know what happened to Fidelis Electrico's side this season. Of course, winning the league and then dropping 7 place after winning the league the following season is quite sad. I mean, Remo Stars finished behind you, and of course, Remo Stars move a step higher. I mean, even if you're going to be dropping, right? I mean, two, 3 places, behind, the position you were in, it's fair. But going down 8, I think there's a lot of trouble. They need to really sort that out. And of course, looking at the most surprising for me, right? Talking about Heartland, that Emmanuel Munike's side. That side had a lot of struggle. During this season, we also recall that they had, one of the very sad incidents on the road where they were attacked and all of that. And, and plus the fact that they were, young guys, just many of them from the NNL, joined, the league. And of course, they actually give a good account of themselves. What I want to see, really, trust me, is that I want to see that Heartland side get promoted, find a way to actually, escape this relegation water. And I really want to see them this season. I want to see, how Amunike is really going to be able to turn aside that particular team and then, bring the best out of them. And of course, I mean, every other team, Plateau United, the big guns, Kano Pillars, recruited the ever-experienced Super Eagles captain, talking about Ahmed Musa. Unfortunately, they cannot actually do the magic with his presence. Brown there joined Enyimba as well. They actually just 7th and 8th position. And you start asking yourself what exactly is happening to the league. It tells you about the quality and how the league has been able to grow and develop over the years. Yes, it's good for Remo Stars and also good for the league. We want to see new teams emerge as champions. The traditional, when a traditional team decides to actually slip off, let them sleep. And of course, let's get the very best of teams, step into the plate. Now, the likes of Enyimba, Kano Pillars, Rivers United have that are used to actually winning this particular league are no longer very active. So somebody needs to step up. Like they always say, nature abhors vacuum. And if there's a vacuum, let the best, unknown side actually step in. I really want to see this Remo Stars project kick off for one good reason, because it's going to really, encourage investors to step into the league and then start supporting start a project, and that they will definitely bring champions in. And of course we saw what Ikorodu City has been able to do in spite not winning the league. It really showed that yes, a project can actually kick off and will get the very best of value from it. It's going to be a very big one for the league. And of course maybe this is going to be that encouragement that the people running the league would actually see to give more into the league, so that we'll see the very best of the league as it were. But then, of course, again, like I always say, if you really do not plan, then definitely you are planning to fail. And Remo Stars has really shown that they've really planned and they're reaping the fruit of their labor.
All right, okay. So much going into that one. Let's talk about the international friendly game, talking about the Unity Cup. The announcement by the Nigerian Football Federation on the approval of the upcoming Unity Cup friendly tournament by FIFA means foreign-based players of the team are now free to take part. And 2 days ago, the NFF officially announced that the tournament, which will feature Trinidad and Tobago, Ghana, Nigeria, and Jamaica, has gotten the approval of FIFA, which is needed because the game falls outside of the window for international games. And that's a good development. And the announcement has freed up foreign-based players of the team who were skeptical of taking part due to the fact that they could run into issues with their clubs, particularly if they get injured, as there will be no insurance for the tournament. And the head coach of the senior national team, Chelle'S, will also make another squad decision by including foreign-based players who were initially not in the running due to the non-approval by FIFA. And we can exclusively reveal that the likes of Alex Iwobi, Calvin Bassey, Shemi Ajayi, Paul Onachu, Joe Aribo, Wilfred Ndidi, and Ola Aino were part of the team with this latest favorable twist of events. We've also heard names like Ahmed Musa, talking about Unduka Jr. of Remo Stars, Ifeanyi Onyebuchi of Rangers, Sikiru Alimi of Remo Stars, Isaac Xavier of Rangers, Papa Daniel of Niger Tornadoes, and there's Waliu Ojetoye of Ikorodu City, and Vincent Temitope of Plateau United. That's about 12 of them. There's also Adamu Abubakar, who plays for Plateau United, and there's Sadiq Ismail for Remo Stars. So 12 players have also been marked that they're going to make the Unity Cup, and then some spice of some foreign-based players.
Well, it's a good one. I mean, 12 players, it's really, that's about half of the entire team. So it's a very big plus for the league, and of course for our football here. Well, since it's officially approved by FIFA, right? I think it's just the right thing to do. Let the coach use this opportunity to actually work on his tactics, because of course September we might say it's not far, but hey, it's just about a few months away, and then we really need the perfect blend of our players to actually execute those particular 2 games. I think these are the very most important 2 games that we're having at this point in this qualifying round. If we beat South Africa and Rwanda, then definitely we're as good as topping the group. I mean, the remaining 2 games, on paper, will definitely be of lesser competition. So at this point, we really need our best of leg. We really need to actually, the coach really needs to get to know the players, not just in person as it were. They really need to know he really needs to know the players tactically. He really needs to understand their deficiencies tactically. He really needs to understand how much they can actually give. And of course, in this sort of games that is of less competitive value, that they can really use to test his tactics. So it's a good one. It's a win for us. I mean, we've always been clamoring for friendly games, so this is one of it. Let's get to see them. It's unfortunate that some of the players that we were hoping that will be part of this, because of the nature of the game, will not be part of it because of the new twist of events. But again, of course, the most important thing for the Super Eagles and for Nigerians is getting the best of value, and of course the 3 points, and of course the World Cup ticket.
All right, of course, the battle of who's the best in the West. Talking about West African, the best of West African football, Ghana versus Nigeria. Talking about the Black Stars up against the Super Eagles. I will get to hear what Just Ekong is saying about this friendly. He said this is a great tournament for us to reunite and continue strategizing for the upcoming World Cup qualifiers. That's been the case. And due to the fact that the FIFA approval was not there. They were already saying Ahmed Musa was going to captain the team. But now that things have changed, are we going to see Trustekon captain the side in the Unity Cup?
Well, if Ahmed Musa, will be on the pitch, obviously he's going to be the captain. But of course, perhaps might not even get to play one of the games, or may not even start the game. So most likely it's going to be a Trustekon. We cannot also tell, as at this point, that Trustekon will be part of it because of his persistent injury. So it's still dicey at this point, and the issue of captaincy can actually be sorted when the time is right. But I really do not want to dwell on that. The captain of Super Eagles at this point, as we speak now, is still Ahmed Musa. So I'm just going to be looking at him as the captain. If he's part of it, then of course he's going to be the captain. If he's not part of it, then of course the next in line will just step up the plate.
All right, the next in line will just step up the plate as far as that one is concerned. Okay, and also the captain of the Ghana Black Stars is already talking about Jordan Pierre-Ayew. He said we're looking forward to an intense battle on the pitch and making our country proud. We know the Black Stars have not been doing well of late. They didn't even qualify for the AFCON.
Yes, they did.
Which is pretty bad for a side like Ghana. They should be one of the top teams in West Africa, but of late it seems like everything has fallen like a pack of cards.
I mean, it's not just about Ghana. Most of the heavyweights in West Africa is actually struggling at this point. I don't know what's wrong with West African football generally. I mean, West Africa used to have the best pair of legs in the entire African continent. I want to talk about the best player from like of Okocha to Samuel Eto'o to Michael Essien, and these top players are naturally, most of them are from South Africa, West Africa. But today you look at the Premier League, you look at the players who are actually doing the magic in Africa, and then you start asking yourself, where are the Africans, where are the West African powerhouse? So it tells you a question. Is it just a generational change thing, or perhaps there's something wrong with our football administratively? Yes, there's always been something wrong with our football administratively. Why is it difficult for us to churn out the best of talents that we're used to actually churn out? I mean, in the 90s, in the early 2000s, we'll go back after. I mean, this is one of the things we're known for, right? But then, of course, our football is actually struggling at this point, and I mean, it's also affecting Ghana, it's affecting other powerhouse in West Africa. So it's perhaps one of those times, and even in their World Cup qualifying group, they're actually not at their A game, of course. So it's one of those very sad times, and Nigeria is also facing the same thing. Perhaps although we've qualified for the Nations Cup, but we are struggling to qualify for the World Cup. So I don't know what to make of it at this point, but then it is one of those things you have to suffer when you don't have a proper structure. Ghana also do not have it, and that's perhaps the reason why they're also struggling at all, like us. But this is a very big test. Of course, like the captain said, it has always been a big test. It's a love battle. How we actually turn up to this sort of games. It's usually like the World Cup final. We throw everything at it because, of course, we like to count scores. We are friendly neighbors, so we use it advanced. So it's huge for them, right? So whoever wins it will definitely have that bragging right, and that's exactly what this game mean for Ghana, and of course for Nigeria as well.
All right, let's talk about the Flying Eagles of Nigeria. The Flying Eagles today qualified for the 2025 FIFA Under-20 World Cup in Chile after they beat the defending champion Senegal 3-1 on penalties after scores even after extra time stood at a goalless. Talking about 0-0. They are now on course for a record extending 8 Under-20 AFCON titles. In the semi-final, they will meet the winners of the quarter-final between South Africa and DR Congo. It was also a sweet revenge for the Junior Eagles after Senegal pipped them 1-0 in the opening group game of the 2023 edition of the same competition. Goalkeeper Ebenezer Harcourt, the youngest player for the Flying Eagles at 15, was a hero for Nigeria after he saved 2 of the spot kicks by Senegal. Precious Benjamin, Emmanuel Chukwu, and Israel Ayuma converted the penalties for Nigeria. The Flying Eagles thus became the first team to qualify for the semi-final of the 2025 Under-20 AFCON in Egypt. And 2 years ago, also in Egypt, Nigeria reached the last 4 of the tournament. And this contest between 2 West African rivals was physically demanding, even though the Flying Eagles looked the better team for most of the time. And of course, Senegal pushed forward from the first whistle but it was the Flying Eagles who carved out the first real chance after 10 minutes, only to be denied by the brave Senegal goalkeeper. And of course, he was not brave till the penalty shootout. And of course, the man of the moment is Harcourt, who was brilliant in goal for the Flying Eagles.
Well, Jerry, it's so good to see that this team have finally qualified, and of course, semi-final we are having a conversation. I remember when the tournament started, one of the conversations we had here in one of these games was, why should they be, invited, or why is the coach going there to look at them? Why is it putting pressure on them? Of course, I mean, we can all agree that actually paid off because they keep progressing.
It didn't pay off. It was just one of those things. They have to scrap their way out and make sure that they qualify for the cup because it's for their own good. Super Eagles coach or not.
Well, I mean, I'm not expecting you to say anything else. I mean, but then the truth is, the coach went there, and I mean, word of encouragement. They were motivated, and they are in the next round, going to the World Cup. 15 years old goalkeeper, outstanding. He did what he did, and of course, we'll remember his name for a very long time. Going to the World Cup, hope that this team. I mean, like we gathered that this particular team was actually better than the Senegalese team in that particular encounter. I mean, that Senegalese or the Senegal as a country have really shown that they have done something remarkable with their age-grade system. And of course, if you have a team that is better than their team, it tells that you've done something also very, very well. I just want to see these guys lead the tournament. At the end of the day, going to the World Cup, it's going to be a huge boost for them. And of course, we want to see another set of under 20 that is going to replicate what we saw in 2005. I mean, we want to go all the way this time around. Let's get to even win the championship. We've not won it before. I think the only team that won it in Africa is actually Ghana. They won in 2009. That's the IU, the senior IU, DDIU inspired Ghanaian side. So we want to see Nigeria also win this particular championship. And let's get to see the next stars that will be emerging from that crop of players that will be joining the likes of Osimhen, in a couple of years to come.
All right, and of course, the name of the guy talking about Ebenezer Harcourt. Hopefully, he will eventually play for the Super Eagles if he continues on this trend. And of course, these are the stories we want to hear about our players at the under 20 level. They should keep the momentum going. And of course, that is official from CAF media page. The Nigeria Flying Eagles are now in the semi-finals, and that is Bameyi. Who's on the front, talking about number 6. I think he's actually the captain of the team, and he's a defender. And he's been gangling and been awesome as well as the other players who've been doing very well to make sure they inspire themselves to glory, because it doesn't just stop in the semi-final. They'll have to deal with whoever wins the game between Senegal, I think about DR Congo and South Africa. Of course, South Africa, they're not pushover as well as DR Congo. So it's going to be a tough one to see if they can win the AFCON or the under 20.
Yes, it's really going to be a tough one. South Africa is another very, very properly organized country in terms of football in Africa. So it says a lot. I mean, a good number of their young players actually, from this particular level, go straight into their league. Many of them are not used to, leaving their countries quite early to go play in Europe, just like the way we have it here. So it's going to be a very, very difficult game if South Africa actually emerge in that particular game. But then, of course, I'm banking on, of course, these players to actually do the needful. They know what's at stake for them. They know that, this is just the shortcut for them to actually get that, exposure, for them to actually get that opportunity to be part of the Super Eagles, win this championship, put your name, in gold, and of course, step into the World Cup and show the world what we've got. And of course, definitely, the Super Eagles is definitely going to be the next point of call. But for South Africa, yes, I know the South African side are actually, quite very organized, and going into a game like this is going to be quite also interesting for them. And of course, playing against DR Congo, a lot of persons might not fancy, but there's something about football that particular team that you may not really want to talk about all the time are those teams that is going to, give you the biggest upsets in any competition. And of course, I will not be surprised if at the end of the day, DR Congo actually make this particular tie against South Africa and face the Super Eagles in the semi-finals of this particular tie.
All right, and of course, it's a big one for Zuberi and his boys. They will have to contest whoever they get to meet. And some want to fancy their chances as far as making it to the, talking about the final eventually is concerned, but they will have to take it one game at a time, because it's going to be a very difficult call for the boys as far as Bamayi-led captain side as far as that one is concerned. But overall, yeah, now you're riding on the fact that the coach went there and inspired them. But it is what it is. It's for their own good. They have to be at the World Cup.
Okay, but now you agree with me that it's actually going to be more of a help.
I think I want to look at it from the perspective. They lost concentration against Kenya. I was not really convinced with the game against Kenya. I think they had to pick themselves up from maybe the complacency that really happened in the game against Kenya and get their acts together in the game against Senegal today.
I'll agree with you on the part where you mentioned complacency, because it is most times the norm in football. When you're playing against a side that is really not known to be a powerhouse, that complacency naturally comes in. It is human. Humans, you go into a fight that I can actually beat this person, so you naturally will not come all out with with all your might. But of course, when you go into a fight knowing that this person can actually cause equal damage, you see the person going into that fight with everything that they've got. That's exactly what happens. Naturally, it is psychological for human. But then in that particular game against Kenya, I knew that game is going to be difficult, because of course Kenya is a side that these guys will definitely view from a point of, they are not football nation. But of course, coming into a game against Senegal, they know they have to step it a notch higher. But of course, we're not going to also downplay the importance or the value of the coach, the senior coach, talking about Rochelle, whatever it is he told them, and it really worked for them against the Senegalese side. And yes, congratulations to them. That's why we are here having this conversation, looking at them and saying, okay, there's just one more job before you get to the finals. And at the end of the day, we'll be having a conversation of, when is final going to be played. And this team, the more focus will be on them. That's the beauty of, championship like this. I'm really not going to take, this particular, at this point, right, I want to look at this team. I just hope that, the Super Eagles, the Flying Eagles get to play against South Africa, because if DR Congo finally get their way into that semi-final, it's going to be more difficult, because the Flying Eagles naturally want to look at them with the same lens, that they actually view the Kenyan side from, and it's going to be quite dangerous at this stage of the competition. So I just hope that they put themselves together. Whoever it is that the opponent they'll be facing, they should give it their all, and they understand that the only goal is actually to get the tickets, and of course, get to the World Cup and win this particular championship at the end of the day.
All right, of course, the battle for the number 45 man, talking about Victor Osimhen, continues. We heard that Juventus, as talking about Saudi Arabian club side, Al Hilal has caught the attention of Juventus, and according to report, Al Hilal is willing to pay around 75 million to trigger Osimhen's release clause. However, Osimhen's impressive form this season has also attracted interest from Juventus, and Osimhen has been on loan for Galatasaray and has scored 33 goals in all tournaments. And even as we speak, it's even more fearsome. Ivan Mokachi has even heard his voice on this. He said that, Mokachi, please move to the Premier League. No option. He has to move to the Premier League. And Galatasaray fans have already started an hashtag on X as we speak and trying to convince him to stay in Turkey.
I don't think Turkey is supposed to be the right destination. Juve, perhaps. Juve is arguably one of the most successful side in the Italian Serie A. So of course, going to Turin is actually not a bad idea. But of course, maybe perhaps the way he was treated in Italy, he might not want to go back there. But if he's got option to go to Saudi, stay in Turkey, or join Juventus, of course, Juve is going to be that team that is the best option, because they definitely will make it to Europe, and it's definitely going to play Champions League football more regular. And Napoli is also doing well at this point. They definitely will be in Champions League next season, courtesy of their brilliant manager Antonio Conte, who does not want Osimhen at this point. So he's got a choice, either to go to Juventus or go to Premier League. Juventus is obviously willing to actually meet his valuation. £85 million they're actually tabling to get him. And of course, look at this particular his wages. Of course, for them to be willing to actually meet up his price valuation, they're obviously willing to actually meet up with his wages. And that's the problem he's got with the Premier League side. Many of them are actually not willing to actually meet his wages. That's exactly where the problem will be. But if it's about money, he just want to make money, then perhaps maybe Saudi is it. But I don't think a player in his prime should be going to Saudi Arabia at this point. It's going to be, for me, he should just decide to actually go back to Syria, where his wages and everything will be met, and then play in another very top club that is even bigger than Napoli, or go to the Premier League and get a wage cut. For me, I would rather he goes back to Italy, because going to the Premier League and get a wage cut is, for me, for a player who has one time been the best player in Africa, it's actually short of his value, and it's an embarrassment to his person. Of course, an embarrassment to Africa as well. So I prefer him go back to Juve and, of course, get it done. And perhaps, who knows, that whatever trophy or the Champions League is looking for might just be right there. He might be the man that's going to bring that Champions League to the Turin faithful, who has been waiting and hoping to get this particular championship since the 1997 era. So obviously, it's going to be a very big one for them to actually land Osimhen. He's one of the biggest or the brightest valuable assets in the world at this point. So it's a question of having proper conversations with his agents, his family, for them to actually look at this option, so that when it's time to actually make that proper decision, it's not going to be a decision that's going to really cost him in the future.
All right, of course, at the moment we'll be waiting for, but time not really afraid. Manchester United's manager, Ruben Amorim, is trending right now, and it's Ruben out. And Manchester United fans are not really happy that when he joined the club was 13th on the table, but now they are 16th, and just 2 places off the relegation zone. And the man is even saying that he's even embarrassed by the position Manchester United currently is, and the fact that even if they win the Europa League, it doesn't change anything for him. He keeps making a lot of efforts to try and make sure the club does well. Why is Amorim's tactics not really changing their fortunes to the Premier League? What is it about the Premier League that they are doing the Europa League they cannot replicate in the Premier League?
Well, okay, so it's simple, right? Like we've established before, we talked about the difference between a cup tie and, of course, the league. In a cup game, I mean, especially when you're playing against people who are actually not familiar with your style of play, you can actually just get one over them. You just have to assemble yourself and then do 1 or 2 very good things together, get the goals, and then lock up shop. Of course, the Europa League is a level lower than the UEFA Champions League, so the best of teams in Europe would definitely not be in attendance. Again, that's another advantage. But for the league, right, for you to actually be a very good team in the league, for you to actually compete well in the league, you have to go through, a proper pre-season together. He wasn't part of the pre-season. The league already started before he joined. The team was already in shambles. So of course, remember, I took the job from the former United legend Ruud van Nistelrooy, and now he's at the end of Manchester United's job, trying to actually put the piece together. But of course, there's a lifeline which I think he's going to really hold on to. He needs to actually win this Europa League and then take this team to pre-season, next season, get his own crop of players that he's really going to fit into his style of play. Then, of course, next season we'll definitely see the best out of him. For now, right, like I said, the last time we had a conversation about Ruben Amorim, and what United is actually trying to do is actually, escape relegation. And of course, this is for me more like a survivor instinct thing.
All right, that's where we'll wrap it up today. Big thanks to Chuku and the guys behind the scene for making sure the show is great. My name is Jerry Apelohai. And of course, up next is a Political Lens with Chuku Maokoro. Until we meet again, stay safe, and if not anything at all, do it the sport way.